Hey, stupid. What's good, homie? I just want to say thank you for tuning in. And I just want to pre-warn you, this is going to get real personal. There's going to be some crazy conversations, and if you're sensitive, this is not the place for you. So thank you for tuning in to Brain Poop. This is your host, K and G. What is good, y'all? Thank you for coming back to Brain Poop Podcast with your favorite host, K and G. Yeah, that's me, baby. I want to shout out everybody like I always do per episode. Thank you for tuning in to, whether it be the first, second, third, or just this fucking podcast that I'm posting today. But yeah, I want to say thank you to everybody that did leave some comments and feedback and press play and shared and whatnots. Enjoyed yourself. I'm glad you did. If you didn't, I hope you enjoy this one if you come back. Anyhow, for the ones who did come back, I got a very interesting story. Now, this may take like a part 1 or part 2. So there might be 2 parts to this depending on how long it takes for me to finish the story. I can't promise you. It's a lot of notes. I usually do my podcast where it's like, some funny rants or something I experienced or something I read or seen, which I seen this one, but it's not an experience or anything like that. This one is like less of a comical thing. I have a thing where I like to watch or listen to podcasts or whatever, documentaries, whatever you have it, TV shows, like true crime, homicides, murder mysteries, those type of things. That type of suspenseful, like, fucking mystery shit. I love that shit. So today, I was actually watching a documentary on YouTube about a murder mystery that happened in Vancouver, Canada. I said Canada. Well, all right. So in Vancouver, Canada, there's this place on the east side that's called Low Track. Okay, it's like riddled in addiction, homelessness, and other poverty-stricken lifestyles. So it's like what you hear about South LA. I mean, well, downtown LA, and like Kensington. Where all the addicts and poorly chosen lifestyles. So the story talks about a crazy murder mystery. And I'm going to use this time to share that with y'all because I think y'all would find this pretty fucked up and interesting. Right? So, let me get started. Downtown East Side is called the Low Track, which is basically Vancouver's Skid Row. The typical drug-infested shit, like I said. And they're also known for this strip called the Kitty Stroll, which describes young underage prostitutes as basically as young as 11 years old. And, like, just to think that's fucking awful. That's sad. But the parents of these children have no clue where these kids were. And it didn't seem like they had any concern for these kids at all in the beginning. So, like, when the authorities ever questioned parents, oh, why is your 11-year-old fucking kid selling pussy? The parents were like, I don't fucking know. I mean, the parents are just, like, acting, like, oblivious, so I don't know. Right? So, anyhow, the story starts to get really fucking troubling. So, now that you have, like, an idea of the theme setting, the area, the type of people, the environment of these people, this story is going to be very unsettling for some women, I bet, and maybe some men, but I know for some women this is going to be very uncomfortable to hear. So, warning, if anybody is uncomfortable with, sexual assaults, rapes, fucking just fucked up shit like that, this probably isn't the fucking podcast you want to listen to. So, okay. So this story starts to get troubling as prostitutes on the Low Track area of Vancouver start disappearing. And not only just like, how prostitutes, people with drug problems and stuff, they just disappear sometimes and whatnot. But the numbers to this is just crazy. So the prostitutes, the prostitutes start disappearing by the dozen, like one by one, and nobody knows where the fuck they are. So 1 second, they're there, and then 1 second, they're not. Poof. Gone. And nobody is sure if they just left through pure fate, or if it was just like foul play, whatever the case may be. Meanwhile, in the midst of this, they're finding bodies of prostitutes dumped in alleyways and rivers, even dumpsters, so on and so forth. Places you wouldn't want to find a body. Or I don't think anybody would want to find a body, honestly. You know what I mean? But yeah. So these prostitutes were dumped in alleyways, rivers, and even dumpsters at that. And so they come across a young lady by the name of Rebecca Guno, age 23. She was last seen on July 22nd and reported missing 3 days later. Another woman also went missing, and her name was Sherry Rail, age 43. Wasn't reported missing until 3 years later when she was last seen, but she was also last seen on January of 1984. So it took them a while to even, like, acknowledge this woman's disappearance because nobody reported her missing until they're like, yo, where'd this shit go? And I'm pretty sure it was probably a family member knowing that her lifestyle was deranged and stuff, and once they didn't, really hear anything about her, see her, they probably got worried. But I'm like, 3 years is a long fucking time not to, like, be like, hey, where's my fucking kid or my mom or my sister or whatever, a friend, however. But too often nobody really cares about these prostitutes because of the lifestyle and the choices, right? And in total, they have over 50 missing women from 1983 to 1999. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. 1983 to 2000. So from the same known location of Low Track, Vancouver, all these women stopped disappearing, right? These cases went unsolved, but cops didn't start investigating as possible serial killer until like 1999. You know what I mean? So the cops weren't really looking into it, like I said, because they were prostitutes. So they didn't think anything of it. Oh, they're just a prostitute. Whatever. But in May 1999, there was an investigator of the Vancouver police force that insisted this should be handled like a serial killer at large. Well, the police force said he was overreacting, and the idea of these missing women wouldn't be leading to a serial killer, as to which their lifestyles, kind of explain why they mishandled this. And they insisted that this dude was reaching, as if he was bugging that this could be a serial killer. So the investigator that proposed this being a serial killer, he then resigns from the force because they felt his theory was flawed. Sorry for the train in the background if you can hear that, guys, but whatever. We're going to keep on tooting like him. So 4 years of searching just went dismissed and just assumed they left on their own. But this guy resigns the force because they felt his theory was flawed. So it's like, he was like, fuck y'all. Y'all think I'm a dumbass motherfucker, but watch, one day it's going to come to light. So he left. I want nothing to do with this fucking police force. They're not doing their job, basically, is what he said. The cops basically didn't take the case serious because they were prostitutes, like I said. And in May of 1999, they reached out to the family members of the missing women for possible ideas, but still no help. But I mean, the family don't even know where they are. So what do you think they're going to tell you? They're asking you for help. But maybe they were asking, like, is there a certain thing about these women that we should be looking out for or whatever? However you have it. Let's move forward. Only 5 of the 50-plus women were found alive and well. Years go by, and they decided to reopen some ideas that there may be a predator at large. Oh, now they think it's a serial killer. Okay. But soon they're sparked with their first suspicion of a man named Michael Leopold, aged 36, whom was arrested in 1996 for assaulting a hooker. And when you hear how he assaulted her, it's kind of fucked, but, it gets weirder. So just listen. His assault consists of trying to gag her with a rubber ball and strangling her. The woman survives because other sex workers heard her screams, and he panicked and ran off. Leopold told authorities he had fantasies of harming hookers since he was a teenager, but it was only a fantasy, and told officers he had nothing to do with any of the other missing prostitutes that went missing since they questioned and seen if he could be the culprit, But he retracted their assumptions and filed him as an innocent man of having any involvement of those 50-plus missing women. He still received 14 years, though. 14 years in prison sentence for the proven assault he was arrested for. So, basically, he got 14 years for gagging that chick with a rubber ball. You know what I'm saying? And they were just like, all right, well, you have nothing to do with these missing women, but you're definitely going to jail for this. Next, there's another suspect that hits the list. His name is Barry Niedermeyer, age 43. He was convicted in 1994 for the pimping of a 14-year-old girl. That's disgusting. And then he left prison with a grudge after he got out. He left prison with a grudge against hookers. And then by the year of 2000, he was arrested for assaulting over 10-plus prostitutes that consist of kidnapping, rape, robbery, unlawful confinement, as well as forcing drugs into these girls' bodies. But none of these women that he assaulted were on the list of 50 missing women. So, yeah, he fit the, I guess, the behaviors of this missing women case of prostitutes, but they have no finding enough for Leopold or Niedermeyer to be suspects into these missing women so far, right? So he was cleared of being the suspect because they couldn't find leads to connect him. Excuse me, my allergies. In August of 2001, a woman was attacked and reported to police. The man she escaped from said he was responsible for attacks and killings of missing prostitutes from Low Track, Vancouver. So this woman got into a car with this person, and I'm guessing she might have been a prostitute or whatever in those areas of Low Track, and ended up getting in the car with this guy. And I don't know, I guess he was getting a little aggressive and all this other shit, and he tried to handle her. But the victim said she escaped from jumping out the moving vehicle of the suspected killer after he said what he said to her. So, yeah, I'd be scared too. I'd be trying to I'd leap out of a moving truck too if a motherfucker said he killed prostitutes and I'm over there selling puss. God damn, bitch, you safe. She made it. So, anyways, she escaped the suspect from a moving vehicle. She gave the description to the cops, but the man remained at large and still yet to find him. But later on, task force detectives speak to a man named Bill. I can't for the life of me pronounce his last name, so we're just gonna call him Bill. It's Bill something, right? So Bill is a widower. He struggled with alcohol and drugs, and that was during around the time his wife passed. He was going through a deep depression. So his foster sister was like, you gotta get out of your funk. You gotta go get a job or something. Go out in the real life. Get out of your fucking funk, So he found him a job at a Vancouver pig farm that was ran by two brothers, which they inherited this farm by their parents because it's been in the family, but the parents passed away, and then, it got inherited by, however. So Bill stated that the farm was kind of creepy. The place was, ran by this fucking 600-pound boar who would attack anything and everything that moved. He would try to eat you. He would try to bite you, whatever. He was out for violence, you know what I mean? He woke up and was like, time to eat. But, so, the pig farm was ran by a man named Robert Pickton and, I want to say, Willie Francis Pickton. Yes, Willie. So, Robert and Willie Pickton ran this fucking farm. But Robert Pickton, he said, seemed to be a quiet guy. But Bill became concerned about the Pickton brothers when he seen newspaper articles about the missing women. And you'll understand why as I read on. So, Robert Pickton drove a bus with completely tinted out windows, and according to Bill, that bus was Robert's pride and joy. He wouldn't let go of it for anything. So, the Pickton brothers basically, what they did with that bus is that they created a Canadian charity called the Piggy Palace Good Time Society, and they registered it in 1996, which then, that helped transfer people to verified events. So, he was basically like a party bus. And not always a party bus, but it was just a transportation company that would help, the city transfer people to events. How they'll have a shuttle somewhere. Yeah, they basically were just a private owned shuttle situation. But according to Bill, that wasn't the only Pickton brother. I'm sorry. It wasn't only what the Pickton brothers used that bus for. The brothers would pick up low-track prostitutes in Eastside Vancouver and hold drunken raves. Police were already familiar with the Pickton brothers because David Francis Pickton. I'm sorry. It's not Willie, guys. It's David. So it's David and Robert Pickton. David Francis Pickton was charged with sexual assault in 1992. His victim said she was attacked in David Pickton's trailer and escaped when a third party came in and distracted him. The Pickton brothers The Pickton brothers were already known in the court system because of a city ordinance issue with the Piggy Palace barn that was converted into a party hall instead of an agriculture location, in which that farm was literally just that. And once the IRS and the city and all that other stuff, like, Board of Health and whatnot, they were, fined and sued over the years for misuse of the property because, close to, 2,000 people showed up to their house for parties. And the majority of it was people from the east side of Low Track, right? Vancouver, the Low Track area where it's basically Skid Row. So Skid Row people were showing up to this barn to party. And the majority, like they said, was prostitutes. So in 1998, they were banned to throw any more parties on the property. The Piggy Palace eventually gets shut down for not submitting financial records and other violations, which resulted in them losing their charity license. In March of 1996, Robert Pickton was charged with the attempted murder of a prostitute named Wendy Lynn Eistetter. She was stabbed several times by Robert Pickton and somehow escaped after disarming him and then stabbing him with his own knife in self-defense. So that's a nice little plot twist. How you gonna let this girl get you over there just shanking the shit out of her, and you let her get one in and leave? I mean, good for her. But if I was in a fighting situation that's not part of this theme, I'm like, hell no, ain't nobody disarming me. That's crazy. But anyhow, she eventually ends up at a hospital. She files a report that's when she files the report, that's when, authorities were, trying to take her fucking story. And then they figured out that Robert Pickton was at a different hospital being treated for a single stab wound where he was arrested. But later he was released on a $2,000 bond, which is crazy. A $2,000 bond, which later the charges were dismissed without explanation. So he got away with stabbing the shit out of this chick, and they dismissed it with no reason. I think I know why, but we're not going to go there. Bill, the guy who works on their farm, said the brothers were rather strange. So clearly he's seen some shit that he was like, I don't know about these guys. They kind of iffy. But he also noted there were all these purses and belongings in the Pickton's trailer that belonged to many prostitutes who dwelled there at one point. Which, it could have been from the raves or so on and forward to the story. Bill became suspicious because of the type of items that were left behind. And it wasn't just purses, guys. It was identifications, clothing, you name it, you have it, right? So Bill told police Robert Pickton would go to Low Track to pick up prostitutes on a regular basis. So this was like a regular thing for him. He would go and pick up prostitutes, get high, whatever. He had a drug problem him damn self. So after the interview, Bill led police to a physical observation of the Piggy Palace farm where all that shit was going on. And they searched the property 3 fucking times and found not a goddamn thing. Right? So months go by, 11 more women go missing, and now it's the year 2001. This is a 2-decade timing of missing women. So 2 decades of missing fucking women, bro. And you still have no lead yet. That's crazy. So until February 2nd, 2002, that morning, Vancouver constable conducted another search of the Pickton Brother Piggy Palace farm. That's such a fucking word, huh? Pickton Brothers Piggy Palace farm. Damn. Meanwhile, Robert Pickton was put in jail immediately for having illegally owned firearms. And after, he was instantly bailed out and later arrested, later down the line, arrested once more for 2 counts of first-degree murder of 2 women that were part of the newly missing list of women in 2001. Eventually, he was charged with 4 more counts of murder, which is a total of 6. 6 of these women now found on this property, I believe, right? And by May 22nd, of 2001, a seventh murder charge was posted. At this time, they were trying to find out if he was responsible for all those 54 missing women. And, you know, the initial things, the essential things they do to figure it out. But the public suggested he fed the prostitutes to the angry, violent boar that Bill pointed out to authorities in 2001. So that big-ass fucking boar that was trying to eat everything that moved or blinked or breathed. But as authorities go over missing people reports, they found there were unpublished missing women from the low track that weren't added to the list yet, which at that point, the number reached to 114 women missing from the low track Vancouver area, which they suspected foul play with all of them. 4 more charges were added to the list of women Pickton was accused of killing. More charges of murder were added as the time goes by. And once you get the number, they added up to 15 women in October of 2002. 15 fucking women. Just in October? That's nuts. It was considered the largest missing person case connected to murder in Canadian history. The Missing Women's Task Force continued to search, but the discovery of more missing women linked to Robert Pickton have now reached to 30 women by 2003, whose remains were found on the farm, of course. This is where it starts to pick up. They found body parts in Pickton's freezer, used to hold unsold meat, and other evidence found some remains in a wood chipper that shot into the pig feed to feed the pigs. All this time, police thought these women just left Vancouver for other endeavors, but 3 of the 9 women they found on the farm couldn't be identified. That's how bad it was, and how long they probably been there. And now you have to remember, like, DNA and forensics was so different in the 90s, and before that in the 80s, it wasn't a thing. You know what I mean? So the man who resigned from Vancouver's police force that suspected it was a serial killer proceeds to sue the police force for dismissing the case because the women were prostitutes. And then he demands to renew his contract with Vancouver police. So he can be like, I told you so, bitch. You know, I would have done the same fucking thing. But if only the police listened to their colleague, this could have saved a lot more lives than were lost. You know what I'm saying? In between those times, they could have fucking saved a lot of women's lives. But in 2004, police decided to search a new location and contacted 64 family members of the unfound women to involve them in the strategy of finding them. So that means, like, they're trying to give them things that may, mouth swabs, DNA, things that could lead them to these women if found. So anthropologists linked 32 of these women's DNA on the property, and 27 of those women were linked to the missing persons list. So in March of 2004, human remains were mixed with pork meat and was fed to the public, authorities found out, because, again, they work on a fucking pig farm, and they sell pig meat and stuff like that. So he's processing all these remains and mixing it with the pig stuff, like in the barrels, and fucking mixing the meats and stuff. So there's human remains and pig remains in the meat, and he's giving it to his neighbors and friends and stuff over this period of time. And it's like over 40 fucking people, 40 other people that ate this meat or froze it in their freezer to eat on a later time. But all the meat that was still in the possession of the public were seized for DNA analysts. And in the midst of this, they found a bloodstained mattress on the property of Robert Pickton's trailer, which DNA connected the match to one of the missing women, and her head and hands were later found buried on the property. Several heads were found in freezers and thawed out by forensics so they could get an accurate DNA identification. All these bones started being dug up in the pig pen of the Piggy Palace. Imagine, like, jawbones, skull bones, hands, everything you could think of just inside of this fucking pig pen. 10 saws and 45 blades were confiscated as evidence, and many more evidence like guns and syringes that were also tested to see what kind of drugs or whatever were in the syringes, just to find out that the syringes had findings of windshield wiper fluid that were used to poison and kill these women instantly. Pickton was also seen at a public dumping station for old cut meats for farmers, where, you know, if you work on a farm and you deal with like cattle and stuff and the slaughtering for meat processing, whatever's left over, like the innards, intestines, whatever that they don't use, they go to this place and they dump it. So it's like a dumping station for like the landfill, but except it's for animal waste products, right? So Pickton was also seen at a public dumping station for dumping these barrels that contain of old meat at the location, as it was for the public. So it's like nobody thought anything of it. But in the meantime, there was this guy, Chubby. He ended up testifying against Pickton as one of the witnesses, and I guess Pickton also hired a man named no, it is Chubby. I'm sorry. It's just Chubby. Pickton only hired Chubby to take a handle of a woman that was costing him money. So Chubby testified against Pickton in court with this information during Chubby and Pickton's conversation. He told Chubby it was easy to kill prostitutes because they have track marks from needles. So it's as simple as poisoning them. So at this point, Robert Pickton's smirking in court because he's like, this isn't going to hold in court, because even the, prosecutors and everything was like, we can't really hold this because there's no evidence of things, so it's just hearsay, right? So that kind of got thrown out. Not really thrown out, but it was still like used as some type of reasoning for the juries to pay attention, right? But at this point, he's smirking in court because he thinks it's not going to hold, until the 99th witness testified to the courts that Pickton told him how he would have sex with these women, killed them, and then feed them to the pigs. Other parts were mingled with pig guts and into barrels and other shit that they find on the property. But he would gag his victims and then tie them up with metal wiring and rape them, to which he would tie them up and put them down face first, like doggy style, and then shoot them up with the windshield wiper fluid. The witness said Pickton acted it out for the witness. So he got on all fours, did the whole shebang, showed the dude exactly what he did. And everything that this dude was saying literally matched up to all the evidence that they found on the location. So in result of the 99th witness that testified, all the evidence supporting the case, Robert Pickton was finally charged with only 6 counts of second-degree murder, which puts him in a life sentence with no chance of release. So Robert Pickton was found guilty, clearly. But they found over 30 remains, I believe, on the property. And this dude only gets charged with 6 counts? I mean, how? Why is it only 6 counts if there's remains? They were finding jawbones, skulls, like the saws that were used to cut the skulls in half. Like, you could just open up the skull and use it as a bowl. Like, dude, what the fuck? He literally cut these women's skulls in half, so it'd be easier for the pigs to chew. You know what I mean? So they found all types of shit, down to like bugs and stuff, and like they weren't, like, excavators weren't allowed to touch the fucking soil for so long while they're looking to investigate this location, like, because they wanted the soil to like be able to like sit and settle, so that way they can actually get the right amount of timing of how long these bodies been in the ground, how long these things have been, at a certain amount of surface, whatever the case may be. I'm not a forensic fucking guru. I don't fucking know. I just know they find shit that you don't want them to find if you're guilty. You know what I mean? So basically, yeah, they found a bunch of remains all over this fucking place. And then they found another location which ended up, I want to say, had 7 more remains but couldn't be identified. And they were still digging. So considering, because they had they had only so much evidence that these 7 remains had something to do at least with him, because it was in a different location. But like I said, considering the new location, he's in jail. He's doing life sentence. He's got a second-degree murder charge for only 6 counts, though. That's what pisses me off. He only got 6 counts, but they can only connect him to those 6 women. But then what the fuck? What's good with the 30 plus? The 30 plus women on your land, bro? Make it make sense. Unless I'm not understanding this, but I'm pretty sure I just read that fucking. I listened to it. I read it. I made notes. I'm not fucking bugging. If you don't believe me, I'll put the link of the documentary in the descriptions or in the comments, so y'all can go peep out what I said. And if I said anything wrong, call me out for it. I'll correct it. I'll admit it. Maybe I missed something, but I know for sure that what I'm saying right the fuck now really fucking happened. So it's just nuts that the court systems and the government didn't take it serious because these women were prostitutes. But it's about that time, y'all. And I gotta cut it down. I gotta end it right here. I hope y'all enjoyed this story time. I hope that, there's somebody out there that has any other stories. I keep telling y'all, send me something. Give me something interesting to blab about, because sometimes my brain is just so full of shit that I can't even fucking pick what I want to talk about. And sometimes it's not even like 30 minutes worth or 25 minutes worth, you know what I mean? But I want to say thank you to everybody that did tune in and show some love, shared, commented, feedback, all of that. I appreciate you. If you're new to the channel, make sure you click subscribe, show some love, share to your friends, family, auntie, granny, uncle, whoever, your brister, your brother, who knows? All I know is I appreciate y'all from the bottom of my heart. Just tune in to a random everyday Joe Schmo guy. I'm a nobody, but, I have some things to say, and I hope you guys enjoy, and I know a lot of people could relate. But it's getting y'all to tune in. So make sure you press subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. And enjoy yourselves. I hope everybody has a good day today. And I'm about to be out. So again, thank you for tuning into Brain Poop Podcast with your favorite host, K&G, baby. Enjoy your day, suckers.